Welcome to the Calm Analytics channel. This is Boris Zingausen with you. Today is June 6th. Here are the main news stories at this moment. Just yesterday, Putin was saying that Ukrainian drones don't reach anywhere at all, that Russia has an ultra-modern air defense system, and that all the objectives of the special military operation will be achieved, and blah, 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 and that's the end of it. In other words, he said outright that he has no intention of ending the war, and that he'll show everyone what's what. And in general, that St. Petersburg is an impregnable fortress. And the fact that some Ukrainian drones did make it through, that's just a mistake, a margin of error. Let me remind you, the day before, Ukrainian drones struck an oil terminal at the port and burned down a brand new corvette in Kronstadt. Putin, with a straight face, lied from the stage, claiming that it wasn't a corvette burning at all. It was just that Ukrainian drones hit a pile of coal somewhere in the port. Let's take a look. Listen, maybe he thinks that if he doesn't use the internet, then no one else has internet either, and we won't see these shots of the brand new corvette burning out. Well, today Ukrainian drones struck again, and this time they really made an impact. The northern capital was shaken, but let's go through everything step by step. Several of the most important facilities were attacked today. By the way, the attack is continuing in several waves, but let's take it one step at a time. Drones of the armed forces of Ukraine attacked an oil depot, a military arsenal, and a torpedo developer. All of this happened in St. Petersburg and the Leningrad region. Just a few hours after Putin's statement that Russian air defense is only getting stronger, drones attacked the Marine Thermal Engineering Research Institute in Lomonosov. This is a key developer of naval underwater weaponry, including torpedoes. But that's not all. Today, the 15th arsenal of the Russian Navy in Bolshaya Izhora, which supplies weapons to the Baltic Fleet, was also attacked. That is, there is a fire at the facility, explosions, and evacuation is underway from the nearby settlements. Everything is exploding and burning. Within the structure of the Baltic Fleet, this facility is considered one of the key bases for storing missiles, ammunition, explosives, mines, and so on. Let's watch a video to see how it happened.
Просто я ну отсюда съебываю. Короче, склады горит с этими боеприпасами. Вон там все взрывается без конца. Вон стекла все ходуном, короче, ходят.
This facility is located not far from St. Petersburg and Kronstadt. For decades, it supplied the Baltic Fleet's ship group, so it turns out that Ukraine has dealt with the Black Sea Fleet. The remnants of it are hiding somewhere in Novorossiysk, and now they've turned their attention to the Baltic Fleet. You see, this is a blow not just to a single military facility, but to the entire support system of the Baltic Fleet as a whole. And of course, there was a fire on the grounds of the military unit itself that services this arsenal. As they say, Russian sailors were smoking cigarettes where they shouldn't have been. In fact, I'm waiting for a statement from Putin, who will say that Ukrainian drones were deliberately allowed to strike the 15th arsenal just to see how the drones would fare, to measure everything down to the millimeter. Just take a moment to think about what happened. Ukrainian drones strike the port, the oil depot, and then burn a corvette. Putin comes out and says, oh, it was just an accident. A couple of drones flew in, hit a pile of coal, just an accident. And just a few hours later, Ukraine delivers an even more powerful, even more devastating strike on several targets at once. This happened right after Putin said that Russian air defense is only getting stronger. By the way, friends, don't forget to subscribe to this channel. It's important. You can do it right now. We are fighting against Putin's propaganda. Let's do it together. So make sure to subscribe. And now here's an interesting point. How are those international delegations who somehow made their way to the Economic Forum going to make a run for it now? How are they going to fly out of there? Knowing the incompetence of Russian air defense operators who could easily shoot down a civilian airliner during a drone attack, I think this is far from a trivial question. That's the kind of attraction Putin arranged as a surprise for foreign guests. Well, that's what you get for attending terrorist forums. This morning, I didn't even have to do any extra monitoring. Social networks were flooded with hundreds of videos from residents of St. Petersburg and the surrounding areas, who were simply shocked by the noise and gunfire. People are also upset that they weren't warned about the drone attack. They don't even turn on the sirens for them. This is actually an interesting point. In order to maintain the illusion of calm, to create this sense of security, for some reason, they don't sound the alarm for Russians, neither in Moscow nor in St. Petersburg. I think the situation is pretty much the same in other Russian cities. You, residents of St. Petersburg, don't worry, you'll be liberated soon. But that's not all. The arsenal isn't all either. In Peterhof, drones attacked the local oil depot. There are 11 tanks there, with a total capacity of 8,000 cubic meters. They're blazing, burning. But even that's not all. Ukrainian drones have returned to Kronstadt again. The Kronstadt Naval Cadet Military Corps was attacked. After that, the local authorities blocked off the streets, and a partial evacuation began in the Leningrad region. By the way, the Baltic Festival in Kronstadt was cancelled. The sales of Kronstadt, which were planned to be held today and tomorrow, June 6th and 7th, as part of the cultural program of the Economic Forum where Putin was speaking. I think Putin, out of fright, probably puffed up the sales of Kronstadt himself and just rushed off on his underground trolley to Valdai, where his bunker is. You know, like in the movie. Remember in the movie Indiana Jones? Putin on a trolley? So, his 3 feathers are fluttering in the tunnel, and behind him in another trolley is Peskov with bulging eyes. Well, over the Leningrad region at night, 141 Ukrainian drones were intercepted. The head of the region, Alexander Drozdenko, reported this. Well, how did they intercept them? Like this, they intercepted them with an oil depot, a factory, an arsenal. They just intercepted them head on. And as a bonus, besides that, today the Poltavskaya oil depot in the Krasnodar region in the city of Ust-Labinsk was also hit. A major fire broke out at the facility. I would even say a huge blaze. Let's take a look. The oil depot has a tank farm of 28 containers, with a total capacity of almost 15,000 cubic meters. Well, gasoline and diesel are stored at the facility. The area of the fire has already exceeded 5,000 square meters at this point. And what does that mean? That Russians will have even less gasoline. Meanwhile, Ukraine and Ukrainian soldiers continue to heroically defend their country. And in every episode, we have an important fundraiser for the defense forces of Ukraine. Today, we are continuing to raise funds for the Battalion of Unmanned Systems of the 61st Separate Mechanized Brigade. We are raising funds for drone repeaters so that our birds, our drones, can fly farther and strike the occupiers more accurately. The fighters of the 61st Separate Mechanized Brigade are currently stationed in one of the hottest areas, Huliaipol. They have already stopped more than one Russian assault and continue to defend their own land. They have recorded a video message for you. Please take a look.
Бажаємо міцного козацького, непереможні українці. Ми 61-й МБР, батальйон безпілотних систем, боронимо нашу землю на Запорізькому напрямі. Звертаємось до Бориса Тізенгаузена і його аудиторії з проханням допомогти зібрати нам кошти на ретранслятори, які забезпечують нам та нашим пташкам та наземним роботизованим комплексам постійний зв'язок. Тож величезне прохання до всіх небайдужих долучитись до нашої потреби, а ми будемо і надалі відбивати у ворога бажання лізти на нашу землю. Слава Україні!
Героям слава!
І смерть ворогам! І разом до перемоги! Дякуємо!
In the video is Zhenya, with whom we are in contact. Let's help our fighters. The link to the fundraiser is in the description of this video. There are mono, private, and PayPal options for those who want to help from abroad. And there's always a QR code in the corner, which also leads to the fundraiser. That's in case you're watching me on another channel. These are the kind of guys we're talking about, believe me, and we're just a little bit away from closing this fundraiser. Meanwhile, in Crimea, gasoline has almost completely run out. Residents of occupied Crimea have started heading across the Crimean Bridge for gasoline. Now they'll scoop up all the gasoline on the other side of the bridge, so watch out, Krasnodar Krai. What are we going to do next? Just have our drones set a couple more oil depots on fire in Krasnodar Krai, and that's it. See how the shortage is spreading? We told you shouldn't take what doesn't belong to you. But of course, according to Putin, everything is going according to plan. For example, today in St. Petersburg, residents had their internet cut off and were told not to go outside at all because of drones. So what happened? But Putin said, well, a couple of drones accidentally flew in. How does that even happen? Governor Beglov urged everyone to stay home and not go outside. Well, what else can you do now? And why are they shutting off the internet? Can anyone tell me why are they turning off the internet? You see, the drones still end up where they need to go anyway. With your internet or without it, the drones still end up where they need to go. In my opinion, there's only one reason, so that Russians, God forbid, don't film what's actually happening and don't post footage of burning oil depots and military facilities on their social media. Well, they're already doing that, so we already have that footage. Hostilities will continue until all the stated objectives are achieved. That's Putin. He's repeated the objectives for the 100th time already. If only he would list them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What are the objectives? Among the objectives, he named the complete capture of the entire territory of Donetsk region. So what about demilitarization? He let something slip about denazification. He mumbled something about Nazis. By the way, his dentures were clicking treacherously. Honestly, even with my mild schizoid tendencies, I'm already feeling sick watching all of this. He's constantly smacking his lips, his jaw creaks, and he can't pronounce the letters properly. So basically, Putin confirmed that, as it turns out, the goal of this whole big war, which still isn't over, was just a piece of scorched foreign land. Did you Russians even need it or not? Do you need that Donbass, which now will require billions upon billions to be invested? You don't even have money for your own territory. What do you need a scorched Donbass for? And I also noticed that Putin was really affected by the topic of his old age. What Zelensky wrote to him in the letter really hit him right in his old black heart. Here's a quote of how Putin responded. He mentioned the author of this letter, my age. Well, what can I say? Of course, everyone should think about age, but it seems to me that at my age, many other political figures are still performing their duties, and some are even older than me. The main thing here is not age. Well, it's clear that this was a jab aimed at the American retiree. And some are even older than me, says Putin. Honestly, it's just childish. Like, look at him, he's even older than me. Putin continued, this is actually, of course, important, but the main thing is not age. The main thing is capability and ability to work. And some of my colleagues who, I repeat, are older, they demonstrate sufficient energy. Zelensky made the bald centipede have to justify himself. You can't even say the word hurrah properly. You read all your speeches off those cue cards. What kind of capability is that? And a few times, while answering, Putin seemed to freeze up. Did you notice? As if he was catching signals from space for a few seconds? Well, it's all very simple here. He just has an earpiece and someone is simply prompting him through it. See how capable he is. Anyone who has worked with these things, I think, knows exactly what I'm talking about. And he also croaked something about, keep working, brothers. Well, this time he decided not to repeat, hurrah. What brothers? What do you mean, keep working? He scraped together all the remaining biomatter from the Russian regions, people who, because of poverty, are willing to go and die. In general, he still remains completely convinced that he's winning somewhere, that he'll achieve some kind of goals. But I actually have some news about achieving goals. The Ministry of Finance of the Russian Federation has reported an increase in budget spending. The deficit in the treasury has reached 6 trillion rubles. This figure is twice as high as it was during the same period last year. And let me remind you, the budget deficit for the entire year was set at 3.8 trillion. But the deficit is already 6 trillion. So in 5 months it's 6 trillion, while for the whole year they expected it to be 3.8. They've already gone way over. But the most surprising thing is how Putin justifies this. Honestly, when I saw this video, I thought it was some kind of maybe AI, maybe it wasn't real. No, he really said it. Take a look.
Перспективу историческую. И главным образом, прежде всего, ориентируется на экономику, в которую собирается инвестировать. Мы вот говорили о том, что происходит в российской экономике. Мы констатируем, что наблюдаем снижение роста валового внутреннего продукта и некоторые другие вещи, но все это мы делаем сознательно для укрепления базы, здоровья, если позволите, так сказать, российской экономики. Макроэкономических показателей мы сознательно идем на охлаждение экономики. И не сегодня, хочу вас заверить в этом, ни в ближайшей перспективе никаких угроз мы не видим.
Seriously, he said this, we're deliberately cooling down the economy, we deliberately messed up. You know, like in that joke, young man, wake up, you've messed yourself. But I'm not even asleep. So before this, Putin was saying that they deliberately fired a hazel stick somewhere at the occupied territory. Now they're saying they're deliberately ruining the Russian economy. The hall is packed, a full house. There are some pretty smart economists there, and yet this whole packed hall silently swallows all of this nonsense. Now I understand why Nabiullina, the head of the Central Bank of the Russian Federation, called in sick so she wouldn't have to sit there and listen to this drivel. Meanwhile, Moscow is also preparing for strikes. Following the Rosneft office, I showed this video literally a week ago, I think, when they were hauling a Panzer system up onto a high-rise. Now they're airlifting more Panzer systems onto the roofs of other high-rises with helicopters. For example, in Sokolniki, they've decided to place a Panzer anti-aircraft missile system on the roof of a residential high-rise building. This is right next to Sokolniki Park. Let me remind you, the Panzer is a legitimate military target. They're putting it directly on the roof of a residential high-rise. I wonder what the residents of that high-rise think about this. But of course it doesn't matter what they think. This is the Russian Federation after all. And let me remind you, all the booster stages from this Panzer will end up right in the neighboring buildings, in their windows. Another piece of news. Trump wants Zelensky and Putin to sort out the war themselves. Hallelujah. Let me quote, "I don't mind. Let them handle it. I'm the one who brought them to this position." You brought them, right? And I think this will be resolved. I think we're approaching the moment when the issue between Russia and Ukraine should be settled, Trump emphasized. In fact, Trump decided to back out. Skillfully, although if things move forward, of course he'll be back again. And here I am. I'm the one who brought everyone together. I'm the hero here. Well, I'm talking about something else here. Just a year ago, Trump's team tried to scare Ukraine by saying that Trump would get up from the negotiating table and walk away. Is anyone afraid of that now? Is anyone really worried about that Trump, well, left goodbye? If you come back, good for you. So the situation has changed a lot, and there will be some news from our Crimean partisans today as well. The Crimean partisans are a broad network of resistance fighters who not only derail Russian military trains on the territory of the occupied peninsula, but also share very valuable information and in general help a lot to bring victory closer. So here is the latest news from the Crimean partisans today. Gasoline in Crimea is running out rapidly. Resellers are already selling fuel canisters at prices comparable to Veuve Clicquot champagne. Restrictions have already been introduced in Crimea, not only on the sale of gasoline. In some settlements, civilians can no longer buy gasoline at all. That's it. The military can still get it for certain needs, but for civilians, it's over. But they've also imposed restrictions on the sale of sugar, salt, and grains. This is confirmed by local media. Shelves are emptying in many stores. I've never understood why people rush to buy up sugar. Why is that? What for? For what purpose? Okay, let's say the situation gets tough. Are you going to start making super sweet compotes or something? Why stockpile sugar? Well, maybe they're planning to distill something. Although I don't really know. Russian authorities have also restricted passenger transportation on the highway to Crimea, and are introducing travel bans on several more sections. Starting today, both regular and irregular passenger transportation is banned on the following highway sections: Belgorod, Starobelsk, Luhansk, Donetsk, Mariupol, and on the R280 highway, Rostov-on-Don, Mariupol, Melitopol, Simferopol. That's it, it's over, we've traveled enough. Residents are leaving the peninsula en masse. This morning, a line of almost 1,000 cars formed in front of the Crimean Bridge. The wait time to leave is several hours. This definitely hasn't happened before, locals confirm, and I'll add it's gonna get even worse. Putin's so-called special military operation is going according to plan. Wow. Well, while Russian propagandists and officials haven't yet received their Kremlin talking points on how to comment on the strikes on St. Petersburg, on Kronstadt, and the spreading fuel shortages, of course, they roll out the mustachioed floozy Peskov. Peskov is a master at saying nothing at all. Let me quote what Peskov said. "It is important for Russia to achieve its interests and fulfill the objectives that were set at the beginning. The conflict is long-standing, it has been going on for a long time, and the combat phase has already lasted 5 years. That is a lot of time," Peskov stated. The sky is blue, the sun is shining. It's summer outside. Today is Saturday. It's like Friday, only it's Saturday. So this master of saying nothing has produced another masterpiece. And I have a question here. Is Putin just a pathological liar, or is he simply out of touch with reality? Here's an important point. Why am I bringing this up? So, at the forum, he says that Russia is an equal partner to China. He says that he deliberately hit some garages with a hazel stick to measure something there down to the millimeter. But in the audience sit those who know how it really was, who know the true state of things. I understand that maybe Putin then goes off to some office and they brief him on the real situation, that both hazel sticks flew off in the wrong direction, the economy is plunging into the abyss, or maybe they don't brief him at all. It's important to understand here, is he completely out of touch with reality, or is he a pathological liar? Or maybe, as they say, he's both at once. You know what else I noticed? Today, when I was watching videos from St. Petersburg and Kronstadt, I noticed this purely Orwellian atmosphere. Russians are walking down the street or someone is sitting at home and there are loud bangs and explosions. They say, "Did you hear that bang? Did you hear it? There were just 2 bangs." I mean, these are real explosions. You can clearly hear the boom explosions, but they call them pops. How is that even possible? Well, they were forced to do this. Seriously, some Russians say, "Very loud pops." What pops? Do you even understand the difference between pops and explosions? Or when there's a fire shooting up a couple 100 meters, they call it smoke formation. You can see it from the window. It's so hot it could melt the whole roof right now. That's the kind of smoke formation we have going on here. But how did this happen? How did this experiment with their consciousness take place? Well, scientists will figure that out when Russia falls apart. But you take care of yourselves, take care of your loved ones. Subscribe to this channel, don't forget. And I ask you, let's help our soldiers from the 61st Brigade. We have just a little bit left to go. The link to donate is in the description of this video. Have a peaceful day, everyone, and glory to Ukraine.